Welcome back and welcome to another kind of slightly different video. When I was back in the UK, I was lucky enough to accompany my friend Zarina, who is an awesome blogger, I will leave her link below, to interview an author. I wasn't meant to be going along, but I tagged along and I was able to take some video footage of the interview, and that interview was with the author of Everless, Sara Holland. This is the UK proof cover of the novel. It's very, very beautiful, even though it's just a proof cover. And today the paperback comes out in the UK. So this one comes out today in paperback in the UK. So I thought I would put this video up today. I received a copy when I was there, and Sarah was lovely enough to sign it for me. And can we just appreciate these end papers in a proof copy of a novel? End papers in a proof copy. They are very beautiful, if you can see all the detail on there. Very gorgeous. So she needed a silver pen to sign it, which I think is very exciting. Let me read you the synopsis of the book, and I'm going to share a couple of my thoughts about the book with you, and then I'm going to let you see that wonderful interview that Zarina did. As I say, go to her blog below because all the questions were hers, but I think it was a really great interview, so I wanted to share it with you on paperback publication day. So, in the land of Sempera, the rich control everything, even time. Ever since the age of alchemy and sorcery, hours, days and years have been extracted from blood and bound to iron coins. The rich live for centuries, the poor bleed themselves dry. Jules and her father are behind on their rent and low on hours. To stop him from draining himself to clear their debts, Jules takes a job at Everless, the grand castle of the cruel Girling family. There, Jules encounters danger and temptation in the guise of the Girling heir, Rowan, who is soon to be married. But the web of secrets at Everless stretches beyond her desire, and the truths Jules must uncover will change her life forever and possibly the future of time itself. So this sounds like a kind of fast-paced, racy adventure story, and it really is. You know, I'm not a massive reader of kind of like fantasy and things set in magical worlds, but I did really enjoy reading this. When I went to the interview with Zarina, I hadn't read it yet, and I'd heard of it, but I knew that it probably wasn't going to be my thing. But the way the two of them talked about it completely sold me on reading it. So I was really pleased to have a proof of it. And it is a real fast-paced story. The thing that I loved most about it is the fact that Jules, our heroine, is a strong female lead. You know I love a strong female lead, and she is awesome. She is so forward thinking and so kind of like, she knows how to think outside the box. She knows when it's time to be, yes, let's conform to the rules and make sure we follow like the royal guidance, and she knows when to be like, now it's time for me to take matters into my own hands. I love the relationship that she has with her father. It's a very loyal and loving relationship, and it's a very respectful relationship as well. It's great to see a good relationship between a father and a daughter in a novel. You'll know there are too many books out there where the relationship is always awful. So I really like the relationship. And despite the fact that this is set in a magical world, in a not of this world land, the description that Sara Holland gives of the setting is really easy to picture. I could picture Jules being in that setting. I could picture their movements. I could picture the queen. I could picture the other servants. So it was really easy. So if you're like me and you're not a massive fantasy reader and you prefer stuff set in this world, I can vouch for the fact that because of Sara Holland's writing here, it is easy to put yourself in that world. So I really enjoyed this novel. It was a great kind of like break for me to read something as sort of adventurous as this, and it really was a full fast-paced adventure story, and I definitely will be reading the next book in this series because it is coming out here in the US at the end of the year. I believe it's published at the end of the year. I'm not sure if that date is set in stone, but I think New Year's Eve it's published here. If that changes or if I find different, I'll put it in the description. So yes, that's my thoughts on the novel. I keep looking at this cover here. I think it's just so clever. At first, you just see the hourglass, and then you see the face. Oh, it's so clever. And of course, the fact that the hourglass has the crack in it. Oh, what does it mean? What does it mean? So yeah, so Zarina did this interview with Sara, and it was fantastic, and I was so glad that I was there and I took the footage for you. So I will leave you with that. Remember, if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, comment below, and make sure you subscribe so that my next video, which will probably be my June wrap-up, how are we there already, lands straight in your subscription feed. I will have more lovely bookish things coming up, so yes, make sure you're subscribed, and I will leave you with that interview footage. And thank you very much to Zarina and to Sara for the interview, and thank you very much to Orion for making it happen as well. Here you go.
So Sarah, thank you so much for this interview. I really appreciate it. I loved Everless so much.
Thank you.
If anyone hasn't read the book yet, what would be the one sentence you use to describe it?
So Everless takes place in a world where time is literally money, and it can be bought and sold and stolen and hoarded. And in the midst of this, the main character, Jules, to save her dying father, goes to this sort of Downton Abbey-esque Everless estate to earn money or time. And in the midst of that, discovers some dark secrets, makes new friends, a little bit of romance, and learns a secret about herself.
Dun dun dun. It sounds super intriguing already.
Thank you.
So the concept of your book, to have blood as currency and to pay with it to the rich people as well, is really unique. What sparked the idea for you?
Yeah, well, so we all have our concept of time as money. That's, a pretty common saying. And I feel like it's sort of abstractly true in a lot of ways. When I started writing Everless, I was actually working at Starbucks, which was super exciting, let me tell you. But as with any wage job, you're told your time is worth $10 or $12 or whatever an hour. So I was like, what if that was literally true? What would that world look like, and how would it be different from ours, and how would it be the same? So I think it was interesting to take that sort of abstract truth and make it a, concrete, literal truth.
Yeah, and make it very dark at the same time.
Yeah, and so I figured it would have to come out of your body somehow, and so it sort of made sense. It's sort of a violent world and a violent concept, so to come out of blood made sense.
It's really cool, and it's eerie how realistic it almost sounds that it could be a reality, if something goes slightly different. So you did that really well.
Oh, thank you.
And you have a story within a story in your book as well. You've got the myth of the alchemist and the sorcerer running throughout. How did you come up with that, and how did that came to be?
I really love all sorts of frame stories and stories within a story, everything from like Frankenstein, where the whole thing is supposedly in a letter, to, in Harry Potter you have the textbooks that they read and the myths they have. And so I definitely wanted to have that element in there. And I wanted to, am I allowed to do spoilers?
Yeah, I mean, I try to not mention them if necessary.
Well, so I wanted to, the central myth is of these two people, the alchemist and the sorceress, and I wanted the echoes of that story to have real ramifications in Jules' world, and you know how that turns out.
Yeah.
But I was also interested in exploring how the passage of time can warp and twist a story until it can mean something completely different. And so in Sempira, the alchemist and sorceress are enemies, and one has chased the other, through hundreds and hundreds of years. And I was interested in exploring, is that the real story? Is there more to it that people don't know about, or what's true and what's not?
I thought it was really, really clever. Like for me personally, while reading, I thought, oh, that's a cool story in the background. I didn't realize how important it would become, and then it was like shock. I did not realize it would go down that route. So yeah, really, really well done.
Thank you so much.
So obviously within Sempera there's a very, very strong good versus evil power struggle going on, and it's not all roses. It's really quite dark and scary. But if there's something from that world that you can take to our world, what would you make a reality?
Yeah, well, you're right. I wouldn't want most of it to be in our world, because it is kind of scary. But one thing I would want is, so the queen, how she chooses her heirs, she adopts an orphan, and as you know, it mostly didn't work out until Ina came along. But I think that would be a really cool thing, is to sort of choose the next powerful class from orphans, or in this case, the whoever is least empowered has a chance to rise to the top.
And do you think it should be the current heir to choose that next person, or a more democratic process, but still from like a pool of people who really deserve it a lot more than just because they're born in a certain line of people?
Yeah, well, so in the world of Sempera, it's babies that are chosen, so they don't haven't really had a chance to do anything deserving or not. I think meritocracy would be great if we can implement it. That's what we tell ourselves that we do in the States, and maybe that hasn't really worked out so well.
Last year, maybe not so much.
Yeah, no. So I would have to think about it before I was like, okay, have this political system. But I think that Ina was an orphan and was just sort of, the story is that she was abandoned on a beach, and now she's going to be the queen. So I think that
it's really cool, and I loved her so much as a character. I thought she was great. Like, honestly, even though obviously it's all about Jules and Rowan and Liam, I mean, I think she's actually probably my favorite.
Yeah,
she's really, really great.
Yeah, I think she might be my favorite too.
You're not supposed to pick favorites. You didn't mention that.
Yeah, no.
Cool.
Yeah, at least a favorite.
And can you tell me something about the next book that you haven't shared anywhere yet?
Yeah, so something that I haven't shared anywhere yet, we get to see the academy and the city where Liam grew up and studied, which is really exciting because I love school stories.
Yeah. So do we actually go inside of it like present time, or is it more flashbacks?
No, we actually do get to see it in present time.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm excited.
Yeah, it's very,
it's gonna be so
Ivy and Brick, and we get to meet some of Liam's friends and explore his backstory more.
Okay, that's really, really cool. And Everless is the first in a duology, and while Evermore is obviously not published for a while, are there any genres or themes within books that you'd really like to explore in the future in a different set of books?
Yeah, so a lot of my favorite books, like the Shadowhunters books or Daughter of Smoke and Bone or even Harry Potter, take place in our modern world, and it's a sense of, oh, magic could be just around the corner. So I really love that idea, maybe because it's wishful thinking. I want to think I can find magic. So I would love to write something like that someday, where it is set in our real world, but there's sort of this hidden underworld of fantasy.
That would be really cool. Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of Harry Potter, so anything that can capture my imagination that way again would be awesome.
You and me both.
Yeah, and obviously, even though this is an amazing world as well, it being more fantastical, you can't really see it happening in this world.
Yeah,
but if it happens,
separate.
where like King's Cross is a pivotal book point or anything like that, it feels like it could happen. Where's my Hogwarts letter?
I know, right? Where is it?
Yeah. That's really cool. So finally, some quick fire questions for you. And speaking of Harry Potter, what Hogwarts houses would you sort your characters in?
So I think Jules would be in Gryffindor, Ina would be in Hufflepuff, Liam would be Ravenclaw, and Kara would be Slytherin.
Yeah.
I did not mean it to slot out so neatly, but it worked out.
Yeah, no, that's really true. And what is the best book that you've read so far this year that everybody has to read right now?
It's so hard to pick favorites, but I recently finished The Bells by Danielle Clayton.
I've heard
Have you read
good
it?
things about it. I've not yet read it.
It's so good. You should read it. It's set in a world where everyone is born ugly, like they have this gray skin and these like red eyes, and there's a group of girls, the Bells, who have this sort of magical power to make people beautiful. And so people have to pay for their services. And the main character, Camellia, goes to the palace to be the belle to the royal family. And it's amazing. It's set in this really lush sort of Paris/New Orleans/Japan inspired world.
Really?
And there's food descriptions and dress descriptions and architecture. Everything is so vivid and beautiful. But there's sort of a dark center. Once you get farther in, it's like, oh wow, this world is actually pretty dark and scary. So I think maybe people who liked Everless would also like that too, because it's similar. This magical glittering world with a dark core.
That's really cool. Well, you've convinced me. I'm definitely going to pick it up now.
It's
I'd heard it was New Orleans, but I didn't realize it was also Japan and Paris. That is such a cool combination.
Yeah, Danielle has a lot of info on her website about different elements she pulled in. It's amazing.
Awesome. Well, thank you. And finally, if people are still undecided on whether they are going to pick up Everless as their next read, what 3 words would you use to describe your book?
Oh gosh, my friend Mark Oshiro, who wrote Anger is a Gift, described it as super messed up, which I think is a huge compliment, although he didn't say messed up. But but other than that, maybe like dark, glamorous secrets.
Ooh,
I'd like to.
That sounds intriguing.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. It was lovely talking to you.
It was so nice to talk to you. Thank you for having me.
Of course.